Merry Christmas, everyone. Today we have the Mystery Box Challenge. Hey there, my name is Yami. I am your Latina next door. Welcome back to mi casa. I have my little one today with me, so hopefully this will work out. So if you don't know what the Mystery Box Challenge is, basically there's a group of us YouTubers. We all get together and we have a list of about 7 to 10 items that we have to shop for one another. Now we put everything in a box, including a couple of challenge items, and we ship it to one person on the list. This person does not know what's in the box. They have to open it on camera, and you guys get our live reactions. And then we have to create DIY pieces out of those items that we receive. My box went to Kristen over at Kristen K, and I got a box from Jamie over at the Crafty DIY Guy. Here is my box, and we're about to open up to see what's inside. Well, according to Jamie, he was not too hard on me, so there we go. Feliz Navidad. I love it. Okay, so one of the items that we had to give each other was wrapping paper. This one's gonna be a little hard for me. I can already tell. Okay, this is my wrapping paper. And I'll be honest with you guys, I have never done anything with penguins. Oh no. All right, next. All right. All right, so we have decorative mesh. This looks like it's from like Valentine's, but it works because it's red. Christmas. Okay. Mesh. I'm a little scared. He says he went easy on me, but I don't know because I've never used any of that. Okay. Oh yeah, we have to use candles. Party candles. Okay. Oh yeah. The heck am I gonna do with those? Okay. So we also had to send each other a Christmas ornament. And I'm assuming this is the one. This one, okay, not so bad. Got the little plaid piece in the front, and we have a little snowflake, which I really like the little snowflake. So let's see what I'll do with this. We have, ooh, okay. Oh, these are cute. These are like little wood frames. There's 4 of them for $1.25. I haven't seen these. These are actually really cute. And then we have these galvanized stars. So there's 3 of them in here. So from the craft section. All right. Okay. Oh, this is cute. Oh, it's a little solar light. Look at that. All right. So this is, what's it called? A little, I can't even think of it. The little Christmas like light bulb, but it's big. Huh. All right. Interesting. Jamie, I don't know, but this does not look like you went easy on me because this is all like random stuff. Okay. All right. We got a couple of styrofoam balls. Ooh, this is pretty. We have beaded garland, which honestly you could just use as is. And then we have, okay. We have a picture frame. All right. So we had all of this that we have to create something out of. We got to figure out what to make with them. I'll be honest with you, that mesh, the wrapping paper, and this thing, like what the heck am I going to do with this? All right, here we go. Here is a breakdown of everything that we had to endure during this mystery box challenge, and stay tuned till the end of the video to find out how you can vote for who sent the best box and who created the best DIY. So for this first DIY, we're going to be using these cute little frames, and I have these cutters here, and I am going to cut 2 of these right down the middle. I love these little frames, but I wanted to use them as something other than the obvious, and I thought I would create a 3D little figure out of them.
After I cut them down, the next thing I needed to do was stain them a little bit. And I had a little bit of acrylic brown paint. And what I did was I watered it down a little bit so that it would be semi-transparent. And I began to brush them with the stain in order to give them a little bit more of a finished look. Now, once they were fully dry, I began to attach them to each other. Now, if I had something like super glue, I would definitely use that instead of just the hot glue gun, but that's all I had, so that's what I did. And very calmly and gently, I began to assemble two of the halves on either side of one of the full frames. So basically, you end up with this little shape right here. And honestly, I thought it was really cute and it came out exactly how I envisioned. So the next thing I did was just cut some ribbon and tie the ends and hung them on my tree. All right, this next DIY I almost threw out because I kept messing it up more and more. Now, for this, I thought, oh my goodness, I can totally make some vintage looking stars for my Christmas tree and maybe give it like a, old brassy, bronzy look to it. So I thought, okay, why don't I start with a black base, kind of like I would when I do rub and buff. And as you can see here, it's just a small dab of acrylic black paint, and I just kind of dabbed it on the stars because I wanted it to have different color dimensions and I didn't want it to be completely black. So that's how I started. Next, I began to apply the rub and buff, and here is where you start seeing the problems. It wasn't applying evenly, and I don't know if maybe it was the glove that I was wearing or if it was just the fact that I've used this rub and buff so much and it just wasn't good anymore, but it was not going on very evenly as you can see, and I'm like rubbing it back and forth and it's just not doing what I want it to do. So I decided, why not add more black to it? Because that just seemed like it was the right thing to do. And immediately you can see that that was another really bad decision. So again, I tried to fix this with more black. And yeah, it just wasn't working. And I would think I was just making a bigger mess. And this is basically what they ended up looking like up close. Yeah, not very pretty after about, I don't know, two different kinds of gold and lots of black acrylic paint applications. So I decided to throw the towel and decide, you know what, let's just spray paint this with some Rust-Oleum metallic paint. And that is what I did. But apparently I lost that footage. However, I do have the finished product and here's how they turned out. And it seems like having those mess ups kind of added a very antique, kind of rough surface to those stars. And when I applied the spray paint, it shone through and it did finally give it that aged look that I was looking for. All right, so this is going to be the simplest one. I'll be honest with you, I don't really care for any of the embellishments on the snowflake, but I do appreciate the snowflake itself. And the one thing that Dollar Tree does, I think, is they just go more is more. And honestly, in order to give some of these ornaments that they carry a more higher end and refined look, all you have to do is remove all of the extra stuff. So that's what I did. And I just left the snowflake bare. And then I took some of that kind of watered down acrylic brown paint that I had And then basically I just took some of that watered down acrylic brown paint that I was using to stain the other frames earlier, and I just began to brush it long strokes all across the front of the snowflake. I didn't want it to be white because that's not really what I was going for as far as, my Christmas tree theme. There wasn't a ton of white. So I thought, okay, let's just give it a wood look, and just by simply applying a little bit of stain, that is all it needed. I let it dry, added some ribbon, and this is it. Simple yet very elegant.
Now, if you're enjoying this video, don't forget to check out the playlist of everyone else who joined in on the mystery box challenge this month. That way you can see what they received and what they ended up creating. I'll have it linked in the description box below. Also, for this Christmas season's mystery box challenge, Courtney always asks us to do like a gift of kindness, something that we can do to spread cheer and kindness during the season. Something that I'm doing this year that I already started on my own last year is to do my annual Christmas cookie gifts. I love to bake cookies and gift them to all of my neighbors as well as all of my children's teachers. This was well received last year, and I'm excited to do it again this year.
All right, for this DIY, I'm going to be using the beads, and the first thing I'm going to do is remove the tag. And since I don't have my stash, I don't have any of my, DIY products at home because we are living in the cottage still and everything is still packed up. I couldn't really stain it, but I did have some coffee, so I decided to use that. And I boiled some coffee and I added a little bit more of hot water so I can have enough in order to submerge all of the beads. And then I just kind of moved them around inside, making sure that they were coated. And then I held them still in the coffee with another bowl so that they would all be nice and stained. And I let them sit for a few hours like this so that the coffee could soak in. After a couple of hours, I pulled them out of the coffee, rinsed them off, and patted them dry. Then I put them in my toaster oven under warm, and this way they could dry even further. I let them in there for a couple of hours and then I pulled them out and they were ready to use. I had some embroidery thread that I had bought a little while ago and I had it in my stash. And what I did was I taped the ends of one very long string. I doubled it over on itself and then I taped the edges so that it would be easier to string the beads. I don't have an embroidery needle on me and I didn't have time to go to the store, so this will have to do. Again, I'm working with what I've got. You're going to need 30 beads in order to create your star. And the very first row that you're going to make is going to be with 12 beads. Now, because you doubled up your string, you're going to have a loop at the other end. So you're going to take the end that you're using to string the beads and you're going to pull it through that loop at the very end, and it's going to seal your circle. You're going to want to pull it as tight as you can. For the next row, you're going to use 2 beads at a time. And what you're going to do is you're going to pull it through. And then in order to attach it back to the other first row that you created, you're going to skip over 1 bead and you're going to thread it through the following bead. You're going to do the same thing again with 2 more beads and you're going to work your way around the circle until you get to back to where you started. Now, I'm sure if I had an embroidery needle, this would have been a lot easier, but I was determined. And one thing that I wanted to make sure that I did with this mystery box was I wanted to only create DIYs that I would actually use in my home and even decorate with the rest of my decor this season. I didn't want to create just for creating. I wanted to actually put everything to good use and try to coordinate everything together. So that's what you'll see in today's video, hopefully. When you get to the third and final row, you're going to pull your string back through that very first bead that you had strung on the second row. Then you're going to take one bead, string it on the very top, and then string your thread again through the bottom bead and then down to the very first row again. Then you're going to work your way back up through the next two beads in order to create that point with the final bead again. And then, of course, you're going to continue doing the same thing over and over again until you finish off your star. Now you can just cut the string ends, and since you already have two strings, you can tie them together and you can hang them on your tree like that, or you can use ribbon like I did. All right, so we're going to steer away from all the ornaments for a minute and we're going to do something with this frame. We need a little bit of variety in our life. And I'm going to take away everything and set the frame apart. And I'm going to use that same spray paint that I used earlier. And I'm going to give this a little bit of a makeover. I don't mind gold, but I didn't like the glittery gold. And after a couple of coats, this is what it looked like. And it's a little bit more subdued and not as sparkly. Next, I'm going to take a little image that I brought from Etsy and I just printed it on some cardstock. And then I use my cutter in order to cut it down into a picture size that would fit inside the frame. And it just so happened that I had this fabric that I had bought at Hobby Lobby a while back and I just hadn't got a chance to use it. So I decided to cut it out and wrap the matting of the frame with this fabric. I cut a slit in the center of the fabric and then I placed the mat board on it and then I began to cut towards the corners of the actual frame. Then I trimmed off any excess fabric and I began to hot glue the fabric onto the mat board. Now, the stripes actually helped me keep everything nice and straight because I needed to make sure that these stripes were straight whenever I would kind of pull the fabric. So the key here is not to pull too taut because then you're going to have wiggly lines on your fabric, if you know what I mean. So I just did it on the inside of the frame and then I pulled the fabric around the corners on the outside and glued those down as well. And then I began to assemble my picture as well as my mat and my frame. And I like to add a little bit of tape on any pictures that I add to matting because I just don't like it when it starts sliding everywhere, especially if it's not really tight inside the frame and it has room for wiggle. So I went ahead and did that and put it back together. But I didn't stop there because one thing you can do to any type of holiday frames or any regular frames that you have in your house for that matter to dress them up for the holidays is add some ribbon. So I went ahead and added a velvet piece of ribbon, the same ribbon that I've been using all Christmas long to create stuff for my home this year. And I added two pieces, one to the right side of it and one to the top. I made a little bow and then on the center, I glued it to where they intersected and it just added a little bit more of that Christmas charm. And I absolutely love how this entire piece turned out. All right, next up are these styrofoam balls. And we're going to be using that same fabric that we just used for that picture frame. And this is one way you can actually coordinate all of your holiday decor is by using something like fabric throughout all of your items and throughout your home. And all we're going to do is cut strips of fabric, and because it's striped, it will help guide you. Then once that long strip is cut along the edge of your fabric, you're going to go around your ornament, and we're going to measure from top to bottom and then use that very first strip that we measured, and we're going to continue creating strips so that we can go around the entire styrofoam ball. So what I like to do first is create like a cross on the sphere, and I'm going to do 4 different strips, and then I come back in with the rest of the strips and I am going to fill each one of those little quarters. And this way each section of your sphere has the same amount of coverage from using those strips by creating these little quadrants like this, and everything will just look a lot neater. Now the fabric will fray a little bit, but that's okay. I kind of like that look. However, if you like something cleaner, you can actually use ribbon for this technique as well. And once you're done, your little ball is going to look like this. Then in order to hang it, I thought I'd get creative and again, use what I have. And I had this cute little gold push pin. And basically what I did was I took some ribbon, I folded it in half so I can get the center. I placed it on top of the ball and then I pushed it right in and it held my ribbon in place. And that is how I hung them. So this was probably the other DIY that I had quite a bit of trouble with because I don't use mesh. I really don't. And I needed to figure out what to do with this in a way that I would actually think it's, cute and I would actually apply it in my own decor. And I had some of those wooden beads still left over. So I decided to wrap them up in the mesh and tie them on either side to make them look like little pieces of candy because I thought that was actually really sweet. And I just love the way this looks. It's not too gaudy and it's not too flashy or cartoony for my taste because I'm just not that kind of decorator. So I thought, okay, this I can deal with in a small scale. Now let's talk about these candles because one of the twists in this mystery box challenge was to use candles. And yeah, I had to use them. So I busted out that gold spray paint again and I gave them a makeover. And I thought, if I can't use them in their regular colors, perhaps I can make them look like little sprigs from picks. Next, I took an actual pick that I had purchased. I believe it was purchased at Walmart, I think. And I just kind of broke it down and I had these large plastic ornaments from a Dollar Tree and I began to just insert berries and pine needles, and then I added the little gold sprigs. Now I did cut them down a little bit because they were too long, and in hindsight I probably should have cut them down first and then painted them so I didn't see any colored wax, but it was so minimal that it wasn't such a big deal. And so then I began to cut them down and add them to this ornament, along with the little candy that I had created as well. And while I otherwise would not have created this originally for myself, I think I made good use of the little items and put them together just right inside of this ornament in order for it to actually look like something that I would put on my Christmas tree. I finished it off with a ribbon, and here is how it turned out. And then there was this thing. And while it was, cute on its own and it's a really cute idea, especially for kids and stuff, again, it's nothing that I would ever pick to decorate. So, if I absolutely had to, this is what I would do. I went ahead and used that gold spray paint again. Again, it's the theme here. We're going to be decorating to actually put this on the Christmas tree this year. And I did put tape on the solar little portion of it so that it would not get damaged. And then I painted the light bulb white because I thought it was a very nice neutral color. And I think this together really does look like a nice vintage bulb. Then I took the remaining pieces of that pick that I used for the previous ornaments and I added it on to the top of the light bulb just to dress it up a little bit and give it a little bit of extra decor on top so it doesn't look so bare. I also did this with a pine cone and some berries, and I think that honestly it came out better than I thought. And then there was this thing. And yeah, I could not figure out what to do with this thing as far as decor. So I thought the next best thing was to show you guys what you can do in order to create an extra special gift wrap for your presents this year. And since I just did a video on that, I thought, why not? Plus, this is an idea that I shared a couple of years ago, and I think it's just something that adds so much character to a sparkly paper like this whenever you do it. So, the first thing we're going to do is wrap up a gift like normal. Once that is done, you're going to set your gift aside and you're going to cut a couple of other strips from your gift wrap paper. This is a great alternative to using store-bought bows. Bow strips should be the same width and length. And then you're going to take one at a time and you're going to start folding it in an accordion style, kind of like you used to do when you were a kid and you wanted to make a little fan for yourself. You're going to want to do this to both of those strips. And then you're going to use some of the same packing tape and you're going to attach both of these strips on both ends. And just make sure when you attach the other end together, you do it from behind as well so that you don't see the back part of your gift wrap. And then you're going to flip it over like this and you're going to scrunch it in the center. And you can either use glue or in this case, I am going to still use the packing tape. And I am going to put it together in the center so it can maintain its shape. And you have a beautiful little accordion bow, and then you're going to want to place it on top of your gift and adhere it with tape as well. And of course, you want to fix the little pleats so that it looks nice and neat. You can either leave it like this or you can add an extra embellishment like this little snowflake, but that's just up to you. And there you have a fun gift wrap. So for the 10th and final project, we had to use the box that the items were shipped in as a DIY. It was one of our challenges. So I took a side piece of the box and I peeled it back, revealing the ribbed inside part. And then I took a mason jar lid and traced over it so I can create a round cutout. I trimmed it a little bit more in order to have it fit inside of the mason jar. Next, I cut some more cardboard into the shapes of little mountains. Basically, I want to create a little 3D scenery inside of this little mason jar lid. And I was going to use these little pre-cut trees that I had purchased a while ago on the green side, but I decided that they actually looked better on the white side. So I flipped them over for that. And then taking a little bit of white paint, I decided to add a little bit of snow on the caps of the mountains. I added another little piece of cardboard before I glued on the little tree, and then I put the little form inside, but I wanted to add even more trees. So I cut out another one and put it towards the left of the little area. And then I did another one on the right, and I used another little cardboard riser in order to give it that 3D effect. And then finally, I added a little slope to the front of the trees to kind of hide the little imperfections on the bottom where they didn't touch the lid. And then I added a little bit of snow again with some paint, and that was it for the little winter scene. And then I just added a ribbon to it and hung it on the Christmas tree. And honestly, I really do think this came out quite charming, and I want to try doing more little 3D scenes like this for ornaments. What do you think?
Well, that is it for today's video. I hope you enjoyed it. If you did, please make sure to give this video a thumbs up and let me know which one of these DIYs was your favorite. Thank you so much to Courtney for inviting me to be in this season's Mystery Box Challenge. Don't forget to check out the playlist to see what everybody else created.
Wait, hold up. Editing Yami here. I forgot to mention one thing. There is going to be a voting challenge, and it's basically where you, the subscriber or viewer, it's going to be voting on who sent the best box, who had the hardest challenge item, who did the best DIY using the challenge item. There are so many categories and so many fun things that you can vote on, and then there will be a winner's video on December 15th to watch out for. I'll have the links below to everything that you need in order to vote, including a cheat sheet that you can use as you can watch. So happy voting.
I hope everyone is having a wonderful Christmas season, and I will see you back here in the next one. Until then, adios!